Hi guys, I'm Kristal Cook here at ACDI. I am a regional solutions manager, and of course I'm joined by my solutions architect, Ryan Huisinga, today. So thank you for being here. And as we were doing the run through, the practice for this, it reminded me of Key and Peele's anger translator skit. So Ryan is here to be my technical translator, okay? And if you're looking at the IT Relief webinar and being like, okay, I know Kristal Cook. Why is Kristal Cook the one talking about this? It's a valid point. We all say that internally as well. But it was really inspired by a success story that I want to share with you guys today. I have an account that's been doing a fantastic job this year, and their sales have been growing, and they get me involved in all of their opportunities. And I saw a sizable sale come through that they sold completely on their own. They did not get me involved in. And I called them and I said, hey, congrats on this great net new. Tell me the story. Why did they want PaperCut? And the sales rep told me they have a short-staffed IT team, and they're looking for a way to make their day-to-day easier. And a lot of PaperCut features did that for them. And it was just a couple of conversations, and they purchased PaperCut, and they're using it now, and they love it. And for me, just kind of a light went off because I do several demos a week. I'm customer facing. I'm in front of IT teams all the time. And when we're going through PaperCut, we talk about those features. We talk about ways that makes their day-to-day easier. And we are all aware of the labor shortages in our industry as well as others. And I was like, why aren't we talking specifically to this problem? I think we have a lot of customers, or your own company may currently be short-staffed when it comes to the IT team, and what can we do to make their day-to-day easier? So that's what inspired me to put this together. I want to say a special thank you to Summer and Summer Jones here on the call, our biz dev team and marketing, because they took all of my scattered thoughts and ideas. They kind of helped me put it together into a cohesive presentation. And then also thanks to Jeff McWilliams, Megan Accavetti, and Dwayne Jewell, because I stole some of their ideas. So I'm going to give them a shout out. Okay, so thanks so much for that, guys. So let's go ahead and get started by talking about IT stress points. It doesn't matter what size your business is, what printers you use, what operating system you prefer. You know, PaperCut's going to help provide relief to your stress points. And today we're going to break those down by security, ease of implementation, and accountability. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that PaperCut can help ease those pain points, but really save 2 to 15 hours of labor per week. And this comes from us having face-to-face conversations with probably medium-sized businesses as we're implementing PaperCut, and we're classifying a medium-sized business from about 100 to 150 employees, just so you kind of know where we're getting that scale from. So let's start out with security. Security has been a cornerstone of ACDI products from day one. So you can have peace of mind when your team prints with PaperCut. PaperCut's going to help safeguard against data exposure. It's going to ensure that we verify user identity so jobs land in the right hands. We don't have them abandon them on the print job or in a recycling bin. Trace all print jobs to give you full insight into user activity. Where is your data going? And it's going to help you meet those industry requirements that you're all familiar with, like your local legislation and compliance regulations, like your GDPR, HIPAA, FERPA, SOC audits. So Ryan, I have him on the call today because, again, he is my personal pre-sales architect, and I really wanted him to come in today to, one, talk technical for me, because you guys know me. I obviously can. I'm going to go through all this like in sales terms. But he is also in front of these IT teams every single day, usually multiple times a day. So he is kind of our boots on the ground on the front lines, and he sees and hears a lot of things from these IT teams that I personally miss, and you might be missing on your side as well. So Ryan, what do these words mean to an IT team? Like, what changes does this mean for them?
Right, yeah, good question. So yeah, these words are important. So that first bullet point, safeguards against data exposure. So the first 2 minutes or 2 words into any type of demo or technical discussion I'm having with IT, they first want to know, where's PaperCut living? Where's my data being hosted? Who has access to it? Is it exposed to the World Wide Web? The answer is PaperCut's a self-hosted solution, so it's installed on your servers, on your resources, in your environment, behind your firewalls, in a secure database. So therefore, all that data that's being stored about your users, about your environment, what they're printing, what they're copying, scanning, is being secured already, adhering to the customer's security policies and practices around their resources. So that is a really easy question to answer, and it really checks off a lot of boxes for IT. And they're like, okay, let's start moving forward. PaperCut sounds like the right solution for us. Now, the next 2 bullet points, verifies user identity. Well, fantastic. IT needs a way to gain visibility and provide some type of audit trail on their users. Of course, they're tracking users as they log into workstations, as they log off, maybe as they exit and enter building via access controls. But now we can provide that same type of visibility and control on printed documents, printed data in the environment. So eliminating that need for unsecured data being exposed to the unprying eyes there. And also, yep, meeting industry requirements, that's a big thing. The first thing you need to find out not only is where the data being hosted, but can data be forgotten? Can it be secured? Can it be managed by IT and accommodate these compliances such as GDPR, HIPAA? PaperCut has functionality, feature sets in there to help a customer attest to those policies and requirements that they need to go ahead and make sure they're complying with in their environment. That's what those words mean, Kristal.
Thank you so much. And guys, we're going to have kind of me doing the PaperCut 101 because I do have a lot of sales reps that were joining us today just to get more comfortable talking about pain points for IT teams. But we also have actual technical people on the call today. That's kind of the balance you're getting with Ryan and I. So I'm going to go back to a little bit of a 101 as we keep going just to make sure that our sales reps on the call really understand what features we're talking about when we're talking about security. And the features that we just talked about are enabled by secure print release. So PaperCut being installed on the server allows us to track and control all the printing that's happening within the environment. And then when we embed the MFPs, it's going to lock down that device where you have to authenticate as a PaperCut user to be able to access it. And once you do that, you're going to be able to view your jobs, securely release your jobs, or cancel or change your jobs at the glass, okay? Keep in mind that with PaperCut, you're still able to send a job to a Find Me Print queue, walk up to any device, and securely release that job. It goes, Find Me Printing goes hand in hand with secure print release. So Ryan, that was a little bit of a 101 of what feature set we were talking about for sales reps here. But from your side, when you're talking to IT teams, what does secure print release really do for their day-to-day workload?
Well, IT teams are being tasked by the CSO, the Chief Security Officer, saying, look, you need to find a solution that provides security around our printed data and helps control access control for walk-up users, copy, scan, fax. So IT teams, they're out there. They're looking for that solution. They land upon PaperCut. They reach out to ACDI. They reach out to you as a reseller. And right away, they're going to start learning how PaperCut can help them quickly accommodate that CSO requirements for finding a secure solution, plus future-proofing their environment. And if you've been out there recently, you kind of heard about this thing called Print Nightmare. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about how PaperCut can assist with Print Nightmare. But beyond just providing a secure print release, there's other security features inside PaperCut, such as anonymizing jobs, right? Being able to hide the user, the document name, or the user that printed that name. That way, we have clear security of what's going on. So that way, other users in the environment don't see somebody maybe printing their resume, or maybe pay statements, or maybe confidential information. PaperCut has other built-in features within the system that you can quickly enable to help with securing that job and/or encrypting that spool file while it's at rest.
Thank you, Ryan. And guys, we also have a few other security features that we can hit on as well. So if you want to put some more security in place, you can put a watermark on it. Again, we're doing some things to start changing that user behavior. And I think that if someone's name is watermarked on it, they're probably going to be, a little more careful about leaving sensitive documents sitting out, because we can be like, Kristal Cook did this, come get her, right? We can see who did it. We can do authentication with PaperCut. Again, we talked about secure print release and having to authenticate to access that MFP. We have several different ways we can do that. One can be a PIN. Another way is a username and a password. We can do cards. They might already have access control systems in place where everyone has a card, or we can use biometrics like using your thumbprint to be able to unlock the machine. but let's talk about having access control already for your organization. You may already have cards, right? So PaperCut, we can look at whatever card you're using and we can sell you the correct card reader, and you'll be able to use that same card to authenticate at the MFP. But here's where IT teams can run into some issues. A lot of times the credentials for a user, for an employee with their card, is not actually stored within Active Directory. They probably have their access controlled dashboard or database where all that information is stored, and it's not within Active Directory. So it's kind of cumbersome to figure out how to get all this information from one source to another. But we do have self-association, which means if I set a print job and I walk up to an MFP and I swipe my card, the MFP is like, yo, new card, who dis? And I'm like, it's Kristal Cook, here's my credentials. And then it's going to self-associate my information within my PaperCut user account where I never have to do that again. So that was completely hands off for a new employee coming in and being able to now self-associate. And Ryan, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what are you seeing in the field? Like, what problems does that solve?
Well, number one, IT, right, they service their users. So they want to implement a solution that's highly adoptable for their users. So the ability to provide a secure and simple method for users to authenticate with something they know or they have, like an employee ID or maybe their card swipe or maybe multi-factor authentication at the MFD, that eases IT's stress and trying to find the right solution to make sure it works for the users. Because we all know if users don't use the solution, it's not a solution, right? It's just another roadblock, another support ticket they're going to have to go ahead and defeat. So, and the ability to go ahead and provide some simple methods and some advanced methods, like Kristal mentioned, maybe that security information is not stored in Active Directory, which we're finding a lot of, but that's okay. PaperCut has some advanced features in there that allows us to do an external lookup. So I have a lot of IT people say, no, we're not putting any security information in another repository. It's stored over there, and PaperCut's installed over here. What can you do about that? No problem. As the user walks up and authenticates, I could do a real-time database lookup in that security system without having to transpose any data into any of their databases. Therefore, IT has had to put a few clicks of a button. We're up and running. Users are happy. Security's happy, and away we go.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Guys, keep in mind, PaperCut is also private cloud ready. PaperCut can be installed anywhere on a physical print server, cloud, Rackspace, Azure, AWS, or you can use ACDI to host PaperCut for you now. And if you haven't had a conversation with your RSM about ACDI's hosting offerings, please do that. I think you'll be really happy with the packages we have put together, and it's a great option for those IT teams that kind of just want to set it up and then not have to manage it and forget about it. That's, again, another piece of what's going to make things easier for them. Then lastly, we have print archiving, the ability to go in and look at a JPEG image of what the employees are printing. So if you are worried about maybe a particular person sending out information they should not be either printing or scanning or whatever that's going to look like, you're going to be able to use print archiving to kind of dig in and see what's happening there in that case. So, and you said something that really kind of hit home, Ryan. You know, if you have a new software and you're not using it, then you don't have a solution, right? It's another roadblock. And I think for IT teams, when they look at bringing in new solutions or softwares, they start to worry, like, how painful is this implementation going to be, right? What is it going to require on my side? So, Ryan, that's my question for you as we keep going. How painful is implementing PaperCut going to be?
How painful is PaperCut to implement? Well, it's kind of like a small PaperCut. It's painless and impactful, right? So IT is concerned about installing anything in their environment without fully understanding the level of effort and or if the existing infrastructure needs to be modified. They don't want to say, okay, great, we want to bring in print management. Now you're telling me I need to uproot and rip out all my print servers and now change the way my users print? We don't want to do that, right? So we give them peace of mind, again, that PaperCut is designed to be installed on top of their existing infrastructure, that print infrastructure and their network, allowing them a little bit of ease, saying, great, now I can just install PaperCut, and by design, it'll simply just listen to the network. So we're not impacting users. We're not restricting printing out of the gate. Simply we're listening to the environment, allowing that customer and their IT teams to either roll out PaperCut restrictions and rules at their convenience and or turn it all at once and have change management be their next task with informing users this is how we're printing today versus how we were printing yesterday. Now, beyond that, it has an intuitive interface, right? So that's another thing that IT is really happy about. But they only understand that once we do that demo or that 40-day trial that we provide here at ACDI. We allow them to see the interface, get their hands on it, and once they realize how intuitive the interface is both for users and admins, they're like, great, I don't have to read another manual, I don't have to take on another job, my users are fully accommodated, and I can go back to my other tasks knowing that PaperCut is handling all those advanced print management features that I wanted to quickly enable that were passed down to me by my CSO. All right, and then also beyond that, once PaperCut's installed, right, I have a few easy clicks, a few conversations, a few questions were asked and answered. Now it's installed in the environment. Now you can quickly start expanding or scaling the platform to fulfill the customer's future initiatives in their environment. So PaperCut is designed to be highly flexible and scalable to grow as the environment grows, or help them reduce the number of printers, print queues, print servers, or maybe augment the workforce for both cloud and on-prem printing environments. A lot of bells and whistles.
And Ryan, you mentioned our free trials, and I want to remind everybody about that. So ACDI does offer 40-day free trials for PaperCut, okay? So if you have a customer and you think this would meet a lot of their needs, and they might be worried about implementation and what that rollout is going to look like, reach out to your RSM or your rep, and let's get a trial set up for them. You will get your very own solution architect. It might not be Ryan because he's super popular and I keep him really busy, but you'll get a solutions architect here at ACDI that will come in and start doing the install for them and training the IT team and listening to what their needs are and what PaperCut is going to be able to do for them. And I especially like trials for larger organizations because it kind of breaks down the installation process almost like in kind of bite-sized pieces. We feed it to them as they're ready for it. And then once we've started the trial process, we're really just scaling it from there, right? We're going to start with installing 2 embedded licenses for MFPs, and we're going to work on that confined area. And then when they have all of their concerns met and they really understand the software, now we're just saying, all right, it's a sale. Now we're moving to scale it out to the rest of the organization. So I love that process. I find it very, very easy. And it keeps everybody on the same page together as we go along. So let's talk about adaptability. So Ryan can take care of the workflow for the IT team on his side of things, but we still have to worry about the organization's adaptability. And something that I hear when I'm talking to customers, I do several demos a week, is how's this going to change our current workflow? What do we have to do? What do we have to relearn or train people to do instead? And one of my favorite things about PaperCut is you don't really have to change your workflow. PaperCut is not a one size, box where everybody has to do it a certain way for PaperCut to work. You're going to be able to customize your PaperCut features and settings to match your current workflow. So I might do 2 school demos back to back, and they might have the same pain points, but they have different workflows and they want to address their print management in different ways. And PaperCut MF is always going to allow them to do that. And we're talking about IT teams, but I want to remind you guys that we still have much smaller businesses where they might just have an office manager or an admin that needs to run the PaperCut dashboard. And it is so easy to use and user-friendly that really anybody can go in there and change your settings. Okay. Ryan, did you have anything to add on to this one?
No, that was perfect. Yeah, adaptability. I like that word. It works.
It's super easy to implement. So guys, before COVID, 33% of IT decision makers were completely confident in their print security, which is already a pretty low number, right? 33% compared to 21% now. And we think that loss of confidence comes from not being able to manage remote workers. So like right now, more than ever, companies need printing solutions that work for their employees wherever they are printing from. And most businesses I talk to have a hybrid workforce. They either have some at home and some in the office, or sometimes they go back and forth. And they really need a solution to help provide some of that confidence in printing and how to manage that for the IT team. And Ryan, I know there are a lot of scenarios that you are seeing on a regular basis right now when it comes to printing remotely. Can you walk us through a couple of those scenarios?
Sure, absolutely. I don't know if everybody remembers when people started working from home a lot and companies were struggling and racing to figure out how can we enable them, how can we support them, how can we make them productive. So ACDI got super popular during that time. That was last year, and still popular today with the same scenario. So users are at home, they're working at home, and they need the ability to both print at home and be tracked as though they're in the office. So PaperCut has mechanisms built into the platform, and of course, some professional services here from ACDI, maybe a technical discussion to determine how this can be configured and how it can be implemented. Once again, I'm going to repeat that: users at home, printing at home, but being tracked by PaperCut MF that's installed inside the corporate office, the corporate network. Yes, that can be done. I had a healthcare customer reach out. They had an initiative. They had to enable their at-home workers not only to be able to work from home, but also be able to print at home. And they also deployed USB printers to these at-home workers. So the hospital said, well, we need a way to go ahead and track these resources, these consumables. Can PaperCut help? Yes, we can. So we are able to implement a process that we're able to both enable USB printing, track it, and control it. And that way, when that user submitted an expense report for toner or paper purchases, we were able to reconcile between what was reported inside PaperCut versus what the user was reporting. And those lined up, and the customer was super happy. Secure print, yeah, was nice to have, but the main feature set was being able to track users at home, printing at home. Now users are starting to slowly return to the office, right? This is early 2021, and we still have users off the network, and IT needs to enable them to be able to print into the office now. So now users are at home, maybe at the Starbucks, maybe walking down the street, maybe at their client locations, but they need to be able to print either securely or directly into the corporate environment. So you might have heard about a feature called, or a solution called Google Cloud Print, but we know that went away. So now welcome PaperCut Cloud Print, which is built into Mobility Print. So it's not a licensed feature, so it's already there. So it makes your customer twice as happy, right? They just have to enable it and teach their users on how to go ahead and enable their own devices. But Cloud Print enables the user to print from outside the network securely into the network, either waiting to release the job at their convenience or make paper right away, which is one of those things. But today, users are returning back to the workforce, right? They're inside the office and they're needing to print, but all of a sudden we got a new issue now. Print nightmare. Have you heard of that? If you have, I know how that is. If you haven't, it's coming your way. So please understand that a lot of IT companies are reaching out, looking for a solution to help them either defeat print nightmare or accommodate it or work around it. And I'll let you know this right now. PaperCut has mechanisms built in there to help your customers negotiate print nightmare as they're trying to figure out all those updates that need to be and patches that need to be either restored or rolled back. We're having a lot of conversations. ITs are looking at other solution platforms. They hear PaperCut's a global solution out there, so they're reaching out, and we're ready to have those conversations about print deploy and print nightmare, Kristal.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. He teed me up for print deploy right there. Could you guys tell? So we're going to talk about print deploy. And before I turn it over to my technical translator, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in sales terms. So I do want to make sure everyone's comfortable with the talk track. So guys, print deploy has been out for a couple of years now with PaperCut. It takes the complexity out of getting the right print queue and the right driver to the right person in the right location automatically. Okay, so Kristal, what did you just say? I'm not technical. Let's take a school district for an example. This school district may have 5,000 Chromebooks, and they're implementing PaperCut, and they want their students to be able to print from their Chromebooks. Great, but how cumbersome is it going to be to set up the print queues and drivers for this huge load of Chromebooks that just came in, right? That's where PaperCut's going to come in. PaperCut gives you the ability to set up print queues and drivers and send them within the PaperCut dashboard to the right person in the right location, so they are able to start printing. So let's walk through this school district scenario we've put together. The whole school district has PaperCut. We have our high schoolers. Well, even though we're pushing out these print queues and drivers with PaperCut, it's easy deployment. The students and teachers in the high school don't want to have the print queues and drivers for the entire school, right? They just want to see what's available for them. So with PaperCut's print deploy, we can set up zones. So the high school is going to be a zone. So we're going to push out the high school zones to all of the users and the teachers. They only have the print queues and drivers for the high school. The middle school has what's available for the middle school. The elementary school has what's available for them. Where it gets really cool, you may have a resource teacher that goes from school to school during her workday. When she's at the high school, she'll have the high school print queues available for her, but when she goes to the middle school, those go away and she sees the middle schools. Same thing for the elementary school. So that is what we are meaning when we say we get the right print queue and the right driver to the right person in the right place automatically. Okay, that makes sense? And keep in mind that print deploy does directly compete with the other driver deployment software. I'm going to call it he who must not be named. We're not going to, promote anything else on this call. And if you guys thought you were going to join a webinar with Ryan and I and not get nerdy references in it, you're wrong. So yes, we do directly compete with other driver deployment software. And if you want to have a conversation about that, of course, reach out to your RSM and we can set up trials for that as well. So Ryan, I'm going to turn this over to you to put your tech spin on this, okay? Walk us through print deploy, why it matters to IT teams and what they're looking for.
Okay, great. Yeah. Wow, you were kind of reverse roles here. You kind of took the technical way. I'm going to take the simple way on this one. All right, awesome. Well, let's talk about that school district, right? School districts are still super popular with PaperCut, and especially now with print deploy. Here's what's happening is that schools are leveraging Chromebooks for their students. Ever heard of Chromebooks, right? They're super popular. So now we have a one-to-one relationship, and IT is scrambling to find a print enablement solution to get printer objects deployed to Chromebooks to allow their students, staff members, faculty members to quickly print without a lot of IT headache, without having to touch every solution or every workstation and get those configured. So print deploy allows an IT admin to quickly deploy print queues to individual Chromebooks or groups of Chromebooks based on their location, their IP schema, or their user group definition within Active Directory within about 3 to 5 minutes. All right, I'm putting a timer out there. You can challenge me on a trial if you want to put me on there. I can show you how quickly we can get a customer set up with Chromebook printing through print deploy for their entire enterprise. It's within a matter of clicks, a simple copy and paste technology, and we're up and running with print deploy. So this is not too technical, but it's built into the system and it's highly popular. The other IT struggle that they're having, yes, once again, print nightmare, right? So no point and print functionality. So now a user can't quickly just browse the network and add a printer. That's kind of being restricted today. So IT is supporting a bunch of support tickets saying they need to add locally installed print queues. Well, print deploy can do that for them. Now they can deploy a print deploy agent on that user, on that Mac or Windows workstation, and quickly deploy direct IP print queues, printing directly from that user's workstation to that physical device, bypassing that print server and that print nightmare restrictions, therefore enabling users right away and tracking and controlling them as though print queues were installed on a print server. Beyond that, we can definitely stack mobility print with print deploy to further enhance PaperCut's ability to go ahead and negotiate print nightmare both on network and off network if you need to. But beyond that, print deploy is just what that image is showing. It's that intuitive. We're giving the user a graphical interface to showing these group of printers need to be installed for these group of users based on that user's IP schema or IP address of their client, their user group definition, and potentially the host name of their workstation. And for all of you out there that have PaperCut installed today, if you haven't looked already, some new enhancements to the print deploy just happened today. So those are automatically updating in the background if you allow that, that handshake to happen. So you're going to see some new bells and whistles, a new intuitive UI, some things that you, the community, have been asking for. And PaperCut said, yep, we got that. It's on the roadmap, and now it's here today. All right, but print deploy and print nightmare, reach out to us here at ACDI. We're ready to have those conversations with you.
And Ryan, you mentioned, if you have the latest version of PaperCut and with print deploy, I want to throw it out there, guys. If you have customers that currently have PaperCut and they are not on one of the later versions, you need to make sure they upgrade. So with support, they upgrade for free. And then if they don't have support, that's a good reason to go back to them. But you do get one zone out of the box with PaperCut without having to add on the enablement pack, okay? So that might be a good conversation for you to go back and have with your current customers now. Bring some extra value to them, especially if they have current support, upgrade them to the latest version, and let them start playing with print deploy. So
and guys, we did just have a question come in.
Yeah, go ahead.
They want to know, doesn't the print deploy file need UAC? We also referred to a utility or something that print deploy would kind of talk to and work with.
Yeah, you want me to take that, Kristal? Or you got it?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you take this one, Ryan.
Okay, so UAC.
Come on, Ryan, let her answer it.
I know, right?
Over there. Just see how she responds.
You got it. It's an acronym. What does UAC stand for?
I don't know. Go ahead. I don't want to hold up our time on this webinar trying to guess.
Okay. So yeah, so let's work backwards in that question. What is this utility you're talking about? The print deploy client, right? It's gonna be a little agent that gets installed on a Windows or Mac workstation, Chrome Assistant extension, Linux. It is a package if you need it there. Does it require UAC? Potentially. Ideally, if you're in a managed environment where users do not have permission to install applications, then that's why if you go into your print deploy admin console right now, you click on Windows or Mac, you're going to see a pop-up that PaperCut provides instructions on how you can wrap up that .msi, that .dmg, and roll it out through GPO or your endpoint management to negotiate that UAC requirement for managed users. Or there's a self-service install portal. So PaperCut is going to adhere to your customers' policies and procedures, securities and GPO policies they have applied to their users. So yep, UAC might come into play. That's when we need to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. IT professional, let's leverage your GPO or your endpoint management solution to deploy this client silently and get your users up and on board right away. How'd I do, Kristal?
Since we are recording this webinar, Ryan, you used about 15 acronyms right there. We'll make sure to go through and put a list together and post that as well so that everybody's on the same download, okay? Just making sure.
15? Okay. My goal is 72, but I'll get there.
Get it up there. Just provide a reference list for us. Summer, thank you for jumping in. And guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ping us. Summer will jump in and interrupt us, and we'll answer them as we go along. We don't mind it being interactive at all. So guys, working with ACDI is going to take the pain out of installation and deployment. We just covered a lot of those pieces, but what I'm really proud of is just we provide top tier support after the fact, right? We're not going to sell it and forget about it. So when you're working with ACDI, you get great pre-sale support with teams like our solution architect team that Ryan's on. Then when you move over to the installation piece, you have project coordinator and an engineer working with you for your installation. And Ryan, you're working with these IT teams every day. When it comes to the software and what they're looking for as the next step after implementation, what are they asking for? What are they looking for?
You want to know, who do they call? Do they have the ability? They have the right to call somebody when they need support, or are they on their own? That was literally the phrase I got from a customer yesterday during a demo. At the end, they're like, am I on my own, or are you guys going to help me with this? I'm like, oh, we're going to help you with that. So ACDI provides that layer, that additional layer, that IT that your customers are looking for to help them implement PaperCut and or help configure it and scale it out for next future initiatives in their environment. So whether the IT group consists of one person that wears multiple hats, or it's a small team, or maybe external, ACDI can be that either tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 support level that your end customer needs and expects to make sure they have full support of their platform and all their questions answered, and give you, the reseller, peace of mind, saying ACDI is there to support us and your customer. There's multiple flavors there, as you can see on that bullet point there. Sorry, Kristal, I want to step over you, but if you see that first one, 24/7 support, we want to make sure if your customers do have 24/7 support expectations, reach out to us. Let's talk to Kristal. Let's talk to Ryan. Let's make sure we understand customer expectations so we can go ahead and propose that and provide that in a proper way.
I want to say being an ACDI partner and selling ACDI products actually takes a load off of you as a reseller. So maybe you don't have yourself the manpower to put into training and support for PaperCut MF. That doesn't need to be a deterrent from selling it, because we can be the top tier, the first person to reach out to, and the only support contact for your customer if that's how you want to set it up, right? So if you want to say, hey, I want to sell it and then I want to forget about it and I want ACDI to be the first level of response and to handle everything for us on that side, guys, you can set it up that way. We're happy to do that. Or if you love how you visit your customers and you have a great layer of service there that you want to provide first, you want to be the first throat to choke before they go on to the next tier with us, you can be that too. It's totally a flexible model. It comes down to how you want to explain support for PaperCut to your customer, right? It's going to fit whatever model you already have in place. So we've gone through the implementation and rolling that out, but let's talk about the accountability that PaperCut's going to provide so that IT teams can really understand what is happening within their environment. So 66% of IT decision makers reported print-related data loss in the past year, and we want to be able to keep those employees accountable We want to make sure those decision makers are no longer worried about that print-related data loss. And we also don't want them to have to worry about unmanaged cost increases. I think there's always that worry. Hey, if we make printing really easy and simple and everyone can print now without it being a huge headache, our costs are going to go out of the roof. And that's not necessarily the case, right? We can do a lot of different things for that. So PaperCut has what we call, I say we, it's really Megan Accadetti, straight stole this from her, auto administrative features and reporting. So PaperCut's going to allow you to set and forget many features, so you have the accountability and insights that you need without having to get into the dashboard every day or maintain anything. So let's start with syncing with user directories. And Ryan can probably elaborate a little bit more on this. We're going to be able to sync with your directory. So whenever you have a new employee and you set them up within your user directory, we're going to have an automatic sync within PaperCut. So around midnight or 1 in the morning, a new user account is going to be created for them. And then we're also simplifying authentication. And we've talked about self-association already. So you could have a brand new employee and just create an account for them within your user directory and then just give them their card. And guess what? We're automatically creating that PaperCut account and they can use self-association. So it took very little from the IT team to get that new user set up now. You know, not to mention print deploy, right? Pushing out the right queues and the right drivers to the right people automatically. We can set up print rules and restrictions. Easy printing does not have to mean you're going to pay more for printing. So let's go back to that school district that I talked about, maybe having 5,000 new Chromebooks. Okay, we want to set this up so everyone can print, but we don't want to open up the floodgates when it comes to printing. So we could say, hey, students, you can all print now. That's all great, but you can't print more than $5 worth of prints and copies in a month. You can only print in black and white, and you can only print double-sided. So now we've put a lot of restrictions in place. We are micromanaging how and what those students are able to print. And we have a budget in mind now because we set a definitive dollar amount limit on what each student can print. And guys, we can set that and forget it. All of that sounds complicated, but realistically, Ryan, how long would it take us to set that up? 10 minutes? From print deploy to setting up the user rules and restrictions, maybe?
Yeah, I want to make my job sound really hard, but yeah, it's about 10, 15 minutes to get that set up. Yes. It goes by quick. PaperCut makes it easy for us, and our brains make it even easier, so we do a little hard work.
In the reporting, we have over 80 plus customizable reports within the PaperCut dashboard. Nobody wants to go through 80 plus reports, right? We talk about how great it is, but on the admin side, they're like, that sounds horrible. Guys, we can help you identify which of those reports are important for you to see and when you need to see them and who needs to see them. And we can schedule those to go out to the right person automatically. And I especially like scheduling things to go out to maybe department managers, because the alternative would be to make them an admin when they're not technical in your PaperCut dashboard, messing up all your stuff, right? So we want to keep the dashboard as clean as possible, keep everybody who's not a real admin out of it, and we can just schedule that information to get to the right person, and you set it and you forget about it. We also have integrated scanning, and Ryan, I'm going to let you jump in and talk about this, but I love that we set up those scanning destinations within PaperCut. So when people go to scanned, they are choosing from the choices you provided, so you have that data very secure. It's only going to where we say that can go.
Yes, that's my cue to talk here. So yeah, let's talk about the integrated scanning, because it seems like it kind of blows IT's mind what's going on here. They're like, okay, we've seen scanning before. Okay, it's scanned to email, scanned to folder, scanned to cloud maybe. But what is this? What is this, a Find Me address book? So yes, so IT has the ability to have a centralized global address book, and they can define scan destinations by individual user or group of users. What does that mean? That means when somebody from HR walks up and logs into any managed device, the buttons that they have access to for scanning digital images is right there in front of them. It's relevant to them. They're not having to scroll through other scan destinations that are not relevant to them, for communications, for accounting team, maybe for students. So now you have a more concise address book that follows the user throughout the environment. So if HR is not in their HR department using their HR printer, they can quickly walk to any device and have their scan destinations follow them, which is fantastic. IT sets it once, and they're up and running. Now, Kristal, I would like to take a few minutes to kind of review some of the earlier bullet points because I want to promote some new feature sets coming out from PaperCut.
Yeah.
Can I do that real quick?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome.
Spill all the secrets. Go ahead.
Woohoo! So bullet points 1 and 2 kind of go together here with, so we know user syncing. IT puts a lot of time and effort into designing and cleaning up and maintaining their user directory sync source. So they want to maintain that as their one point of truth. So they don't want any double duty of saying, hey, I have to create users over here, and I have to create them in PaperCut. As Kristal mentioned, those will automatically sync over. But now we have a lot of customers moving from that on-prem AD into cloud, right? They're going to those cloud directories, mainly Azure AD. So we know Azure AD sync integration has been in PaperCut. Today, it has been enhanced. As you heard before, Azure AD had a limitation with not being able to allow users to log in with their username and password. PaperCut has resolved that, has worked with the Microsoft Graph API, and now that is enhanced. Now we can give that IT person, once again, peace of mind that when they're integrating PaperCut with their Azure AD, that now users can simply walk up and do self-registration of their cards and not just have to log in with an ID number or a card swipe and or log in with their complex username and password. I had one IT customer said, yeah, I'm going to make users log in with their AD credentials to make a copy. That'll deter them, and it sure did. My goodness, copying and printing and scanning seriously went down by forcing users to type in a complex password. But he only did it for a day just to see if it was a joke and see how many support tickets he got. He got quite a few. He showed me a laundry list of people complaining. So he quickly turned on card swipe, and everybody was happy again. Now, moving down the line there, scheduled reporting. As Kristal mentioned, 80-plus CAN reports. Yes, you can go and sift through those, schedule those, automate those. But now you're going to see a data integrations link inside the reports feature, which we're going to kind of touch on here, enabling your users to use some advanced reporting, more graphical reporting, to get a better view of what's going on in the environment. And I won't give too much away, but it'll be 3 slides away, okay? So stay tuned. And that's all I got right there, Kristal, except for integrated scanning. If you see a new scan button in there called faxing, if faxing is important to your end customers and they're looking for a way to get away from those analog fax lines, you as the reseller have the power to give them that fax solution and also bring them PaperCut with a one pane of glass to go ahead and do their scanning, their copying, their secure print release, and now they're faxing right from that same panel without any additional connectors from that eFax provider. And I'll leave it there, and I'm waiting for the phone calls or questions in the chat, okay?
And Josh, we did just have another question come in. If we want to backtrack just a little bit, someone wants us to touch on Print Nightmare and kind of give us an overview. So if you want to talk on that a little bit without getting too in the weeds.
Okay, gotcha. Print Nightmare is just a word, a phrase, a buzzword they gave to this vulnerability that has been in Microsoft spooling engines, right? It allows a bad actor to go ahead and insert either some commands and or gain access to a customer's environment and or network resources through the native print mechanisms of Microsoft. So Microsoft was aware of that. They quickly shut that down, but by doing that, they broke printing for everybody. For IT people that spent a lot of time getting their print management up and running, and all of a sudden it broke overnight. So IT was scrambling. So Print Nightmare is a Microsoft kind of vulnerability where patches and more updates have been pushed out over the next couple months just to kind of help IT people alleviate that. But just once again, I'm glad you asked that question because it does take some time to wrap your head around what's going on, what fixes it, what breaks it. I've done some late night homework, so I'm ready to have those conversations with you and your end customers. How was that? That was quick, right?
That was good.
No acronyms? All right, cool.
So my husband heard me having a conversation one day and he heard the term Print Nightmare and he thought we were all being really dramatic and I made him Google it to see that it was like a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
The real thing. And guys, we are getting towards the end of the presentation. So if you do have any questions, if you're kind of waiting towards the end to ask them, go ahead and start shooting that in the chat. Summer will jump in and give them to us because we are about there, okay? So guys, let's summarize all the pain points and features that we've discussed so far, kind of in like those main bullet points that matter. So PaperCut is going to help the IT team by saving time deploying queues and drivers easily and at scale. It's going to help reduce support tickets with an automated solution that is no touch for the end users, even as they move between sites, saving money on purchasing, maintaining, and supporting on-premise Active Directory just to deploy print queues, reduces the effort needed to deploy print drivers and queues to Windows, Macs, Chromebooks, and Linux. We're going to help create value with one complete solution for print management and print queue deployment. We're going to help remove risk because it's an organization with 20 years of experience in print management, and that was not read very well. That's ACDI, by the way. We are the ones that's going to help remove risk for the organization because we do have over 20 years of print management experience. We're going to help increase user productivity with an automated setup in printing. And guys, you know, we say all the time with PaperCut MF, it just works. And it just works because we pull in Ryan and we make them figure it out. Okay. All right. So speaking of, we've got a couple of other things we've teed up to talk about. We want to talk about PaperCut Multiverse for IT. This is a product that's going to fit in really well into this space as well, because now we have a way to proactively monitor the health and print management of an organization and be able to reach out to them and potentially fix issues before they become real issues for them. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let Ryan really get into this for us.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure all the folks on this call already know about Multiverse, right? We've talked about it a lot. But if you haven't, it's the first time you're hearing about it, you need to reach out to us. We need to get this in your hands, because what's happening is that IT has a little bit more expectation besides you just providing a solution, making sure it's installed, providing an ASC like ACDI to go and support it. They want a little bit more of a white glove treatment. So PaperCut provided a product called Multiverse that is a tool for you, the reseller, to leverage to help you help your customers and their IT initiatives. I was on a demo in healthcare. I'll go ahead and tell a little story here. I was doing a demo, just a normal PaperCut demo. Let's go through all these features. Let's speak to their pain points in healthcare. We did all that. All of a sudden, the CFO and the CSO said, hey, tell me about that button right there. I'm like, oh, what button? The one that says remote support. It wasn't part of the demo, but I clicked on it and I explained what it was, and that it was a tool for the reseller to go ahead and leverage more support services into their environment, to get health information, to provide proactive both support and responsiveness to what's going on their print servers. And the customer immediately said, Mr. and Mrs. Reseller, I want you to include this in the proposal, in the deal, and I want you to tell me how you're going to go ahead and leverage this on your support model for my future initiatives with PaperCut and my MFD needs. So Multiverse just isn't for managing PaperCut and PaperCut components. It also gives you, the reseller, remote access to MFDs inside the customer's network. We have white papers on it, so we're easily able to check off all the boxes. So once again, Multiverse. Reach out to ACDI. We want to get this in your hands and educate you and show you how cool this tool is, both on implementations and on trials.
Hey, Ryan, real quick, how much does it cost? Oh, wait, that's a sales question.
Let's see, let me carry the one, Friends discount 0. It is included. It is free, right? The only thing it costs is maybe a little bit of your time in putting up with my voice to explain how it works. That's all it costs.
Yeah, but as a tool for resellers to be able to use to help enable their PS services back to their clients, right? Just because it's a utility that PaperCut doesn't charge for doesn't mean that you as resellers can't charge for this on your own professional services, right? It gives you another ability, as Ryan was saying, a view into your customers' environments where you can remote in. You don't need to call them up and schedule time for them to jump on a go-to-meeting or something like that. You have real-time access to the print management environment with PaperCut as well as the devices. So this is just another white glove approach that you can offer and services around it. So we highly recommend that if you aren't using it, then please get a trial of it, get it going. And then it's also something, if you want to enable ACDI to be there with you as well. You know, we're constantly looking at support tickets, and, you know, we can be there to help you support even when your staff isn't available. So there's a lot of advantages to adding Multiverse to your environment.
Correct.
And if you are a PaperCut or an ACDI partner that has invested in training technicians on PaperCut, this is really a no-brainer for you to be able to use, because you can have a dashboard set up that's really a dashboard for your customers' dashboards, and be able to see what's happening and proactively solve problems for them, proactively reach out for them. So think about the time that you could potentially save by being proactive, supporting PaperCut, where they don't have to take the time out to submit a ticket, that you don't have to take the time out to answer a ticket, or possibly send someone on site to fix something for them. that you already had insights and access to, right? So from a dealer or reseller standpoint, this can really help you in your labor as well. Ryan, your camera went off. I don't know if you're aware of that. I hope we didn't lose them. But we are jumping into Storyboard for PaperCut as well, because this is another offering of ACDI that's going to give you deeper insights to what's happening with your PaperCut. So Ryan, I'm gonna let you keep going.
Yeah, so if you were listening maybe about 5 minutes ago, I mentioned that little teaser about data integrations inside the reports menu of your admin console. This is where Storyboard for PaperCut could fit in to give your customer clear visibility of what's going on in their PaperCut reporting. It's a cloud-hosted portal, so don't think they have to have direct access to the PaperCut server. They can log in from anywhere in the globe as long as they have internet access and credentials, and right away they can see graphical reporting of what's going on with their users, with the devices, what's highly utilized, what's not being utilized properly, and what the cost is per user. And there's a lot of more analytics in there, so I'd say request a demo or a small trial on your demo room server, and we can go ahead and set that up and give you visualization. But beyond Storyboard for PaperCut, Storyboard is designed to be just that type of analytic and metrics dashboard for other solutions that the customer may have. So we definitely do talk about this during demos. They're like, okay, that's great for PaperCut, but can it do this for this solution? And we're like, absolutely. So it expands the portfolio and your positioning within that customers, and kind of just grows, what you're able to provide as a consultant to your customers and their IT team for providing this. Now, a little story here. This is how it went down with one demo there. It was during last year when people were working from home. It was the legal department. They wanted to be able, they had all their lawyers working remotely from home, but they needed to still get visibility of what's going on in the environment for all of the legal kind of the top heads in there to kind of be able to log in and see what's going on for their particular branch, their location, so they can go ahead and speak to why we're using so many consumables or what our print traffic is. So Storyboard provided that kind of centralized portal for all of their users that are outside of the office to come together and see what is visually happening inside their environment for print, copy, scan, fax functionality. It was pretty cool use case. I liked it.
Awesome. And guys, if you have any questions, please add them to that chat box. We're going to hang out for a few minutes and answer anything that you have. Ryan, thank you so much for doing all the heavy lifting on an idea I had and something I wanted to get out there. I really appreciate it. And thanks again to Mark and Summer. They also did I just showed up and talked a whole bunch. They really did all the work. So thank you guys so much for your support. I appreciate it. And Summer, let us know what's coming up, if anything.
Of course, we'll do.
Awesome. I'll start working on that list of acronyms.
Yeah.
It'll take you a minute, Ryan. We'll give you plenty of time, though, to do that. But the webinar will be recorded, or it is being recorded, so we will share that out on our website. So you should see that come across in the next couple of days for those of you that might want to share this with the rest of your teams. But as always, thank you for everyone for joining us today. Thank you very much for your partnership with ACDI. We hope you found this information valuable to you, and hopefully you can find some ways to roll this out to your customers. Special thanks to Ryan and Kristal for driving this today. With that, I think we can end the conversation and wish everybody a great holiday season, and we'll be back with you in January sometime.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.